Hello! Welcome to the Job Search Workshop produced by CareerForce. This webinar is an overview of job search best practices. Now, we're going to be painting some broad strokes in this next half hour, so I encourage you to, as you're watching, note your questions and then contact a CareerForce location to speak with us. We provide one-to-one consultations as well as our training offerings, so you can get your individual questions answered. You can find the various CareerForce offices by going to careerforcemn.com. Once you're here, up at the very top of the screen is Find a CareerForce location. Click on that. You'll notice that we have a complete listing of all CareerForces right here. If you'd like to go directly to a particular geographic location and see what other services are provided, you can put in the name of the town or the zip code here, hit apply, and you will see CareerForce services in addition to other services in the area as well. Once you've selected the CareerForce you'd like to go to, simply click on Learn More, and you will get email addresses, physical addresses, phone numbers, and everything else you need. One of the first things we recommend you spend time doing is examining your skill set. Think about the positions you'll be applying for and find out specifically what are the hard skills and the soft skills the job will demand. Now, to review, hard skills are the measurable abilities, like driving a forklift, knowledge of accounting, or styling hair. These skills are fairly easy to assess because there tends to be common definitions of what is good performance or poor. Soft skills are people skills, such as leadership, empathy, listening, and adaptability. These skills are harder to measure and teach. Some people even say they can't be taught because they tend to be more subjective. But they can be developed and they can be observed. They are also extremely in demand these days. Take time to identify and list your skills. CareerForce can supply assistance with this process. Make sure you're focusing on the skills that you have that match up with what is needed for the position. Ask yourself if you need to be retrained. If you've been in sustained employment for many years, you may find that your skills need updating. Or if you anticipate difficulty in transferring your specialized skills to other occupations, you might want to see if you qualify for dislocated worker services. Call a CareerForce location near you to find out if you're eligible. CareerForce can help you with career exploration, interest and skills assessment, among many, many other things. Now, take a look at your transferable skills. Transferable skills are skills that can be used in a variety of roles or occupations. For example, if you are good at mentoring, if you're organized, if you can write well, or if you're very good at problem solving, all those skills and more can be plugged into all kinds of jobs and work environments. Oftentimes, candidates don't think to let employers know about transferable skills they have because these skills just come so naturally to them, they just do them. Let's take adaptability as an example. If you can stop and change directions easily and quickly, and you have some good examples of having done that on the job, chances are that is a highly sought after skill. Make sure you're letting them know about that on your resume and in the interview. Now, once you have a good list of applicable skills and you know which ones are going to be important in the jobs you're pursuing, make sure you have good examples of how you've displayed those skills. Tie those skills to accomplishments in past positions. For example, don't just list listening as a skill unless you can describe a time when you listened well, and because you did a good job, there was a specific positive result. Remember that any skill that you mention in a resume or interview can and probably will be questioned, so have good examples ready to go. Finally, practice talking about your skills and be ready to share them at any time. You never know when that casual conversation over the phone or in person could lead to a meeting with a decision maker. And if you stick to talking about genuine accomplishments, you don't need to worry about appearing arrogant. If you saved a company $1 million or doubled the number of customers, that's not bragging. That's stating an actual accomplishment. But maybe you haven't saved a company $1 million. I know I haven't. Don't feel you have to have huge, flashy accomplishments. Consistent, loyal, quality, dependable work can mean just as much for a team that's looking for those things. Find out their needs, their pain point, if you will. Then tell them you can provide the solution and show them how your skills solves their problem or satisfies their needs. The job description will tell you a lot about their needs, but don't forget to ask them questions to find out more. Many job seekers who haven't prepared a resume for a long time mention to us that resumes have changed a lot. I think this is because resumes used to be more of a history. They listed chronologically what a person had accomplished in each job, and those accomplishments sometimes were and sometimes were not easily relatable to the position the applicant was going for. Now, resumes are customized and very focused. They are a tactical living tool to display how a person's skills and accomplishments make them the top candidate for the open position today. Now, before I go on, I want to add that if you're getting interviews for the work you want, your resume is doing its job. Do not feel obligated to rewrite it. You have to be comfortable with it so you can sell it. So let's take a look at a couple of templates of resumes commonly used today. The resume that you see here is called a chronological resume, and it's the kind of resume most of us are familiar with. You'll notice that under the skills section here, and by the way, I'm going to come back to that skills section, you'll see the work history is laid out in the traditional way with the most recent employment on the top and then the next job written below that. It's important to remember that you shouldn't be just listing the duties and responsibilities of each position. This section should not look like it's just a job description that's been copied and pasted. What you want to include here are accomplishments. Start off each line with strong action words like you see here. So you've got developed, improved, led, and then down here we've got devised, recruited, leveraged. Now the second page is generally for education. And here we've also included volunteer experience, which I think is valuable. But if you run out of room, you don't have to include it. Awards, memberships, and recognitions are worth thinking about adding as well. So that's what we've got down there. Now, let's take a look at another popular resume format. This one is a functional or skills-based resume. You see that the summary statement on the top is just as it was with the other, and it's followed by the skills section. However, instead of listing your work chronologically, you organize your work according to skill sets. In this example, we start off with project management. The key here is to pick 3 of your skills and the corresponding accomplishment statements that best match the job posting itself. The first skill or requirement is frequently the most important, so you want to start out with that. Make sure you're not listing skills that are not supported by past employment or transferable skills, and you want to have specific examples of how you've used these skills. Now, when we get to the second page, you'll notice that your employment history can actually be displayed as a simple chronological list on the second page. And then, of course, we have education, volunteering, and awards are displayed the same way that we did with the other resume. Now, I said that we were going to be coming back to this skills section. You're probably going to be seeing this section more and more. not only in resumes, but also in LinkedIn profiles. Basically, what you're going to want to put in here is a list of your skills. Some people call it skills, some people call this section expertise. But the important thing is, this is the list of the skills that you really want to call out. And in a moment, we're going to be talking about ATS software, and this section is definitely tied in with that. You want to make sure that the skills that you're listing here are the skills that also match up with what they tell you they want. Which style you choose will depend upon your needs. Skills-based resumes are popular with career changers who want the employer to focus in on their transferable experience rather than the industry in which they last worked. Chronological resumes are great if you're applying for a job in the same industry. If you're unsure which resume is right for you, I encourage you to reach out and work with CareerForce to create a resume in which you feel confident. Okay, back to the slide and last tips. Define your audience and message. If you want to be considered for a sales representative position for XYZ company, your resume should say, "Here is why I am the best candidate for a sales representative position at XYZ company." Right from the top down, most hiring managers will only get as far as the top third of your resume. Include a skills section and populate it with the keywords and phrases that you find in the job description. Remember to include only those skills that you have proven experience in, because be aware that applicant tracking software might be used to scan your resume, looking for matches in keywords and phrases. If there are not enough matches, your resume could be rejected before a human can see it. Reach out to CareerForce. We can help you check for a match rate even before you apply for the position. Let's talk about networking and the internet. The often quoted statistic is that 70 to 80% of all positions are not posted on job boards, and this is an accurate number. These days, you're more apt to apply for a job that you've heard about through connections you've made than you are from reading a job posting. One possible approach to job seeking is look for companies or organizations that interest you rather than waiting for a job opening. Research them first. Find out as much as you can about what they do and how they're structured. Next, arrange to have an informational interview, in person or over the phone, with someone who can provide you valuable advice concerning your qualifications and chances of being hired. Follow their advice and make sure the meetings isn't some attempt at selling your skills for employment that day. They may not be a decision maker, so you want to create a great impression. That way, they will remember you when a position does become open. Another approach may seem awkward, but it's seriously effective. Tell everyone you know you're looking for a new position. Family, friends, former colleagues, people you meet while waiting in line. I'm actually serious about that last one. Statistically, the more people who know you're interested in a new position, the better chance you have in obtaining one quicker. And while you're connecting with people face to face, you can also connect with even more people online. Healthcare system recruiters have virtual open houses on LinkedIn.com, during which time you can log in and ask them questions. You can join specific LinkedIn groups that are made up of people who do the same work you do or are looking to get into. I have personally had real success in connecting with my friends on social media and have gotten valuable tips about my resume, job leads, and interviewing tips. I always remind people to network for other reasons than just who's hiring. Your friends and family might be able to assist in training programs, interview outfits, resume review, and more. Check out job search apps and find out the ways your particular industry communicates openings. Now, job boards are still okay to use, of course, but experts agree that you really shouldn't be spending more than about 30 minutes a day on them. Be careful about online scams. I advise to be selective about where you're uploading your resume and to whom you respond online. Go the extra mile to check out a company's website thoroughly and double check that they are truly hiring. Do not volunteer private information unless you're filling out a secure application. You may even want to invest in a quick phone call to the HR department to make sure they're still accepting resumes. Never give out your social security number unless you know exactly who is requesting it and are sure that it's safe to do so. I'll add that another advantage to networking is that if you've gotten to know the people who work for the company, you can make sure you're applying for a legitimate position. Consider being a volunteer, contractor, or freelancer in the area that's related to where you'd like to be. Volunteering is a great way to develop transferable skills. And if you're working under a supervisor, you can get an up-to-date reference from somebody who can speak to your skills and abilities. It's also a great opportunity for networking. One last note regarding networking online. Make sure your brand is consistent. You should be sending the same message and highlighting the same general skills across all platforms. Hiring managers do Google their applicants. Make sure that all your web presence is professional and consistent. Now, this can be challenging if you have skills in more than one area and are not 100% sure which direction to pursue. I would advise connecting with CareerForce and discussing your options if this is the case. Our last topic of this webinar is interviewing. Preparation is key. First, do your research. When they call to set your appointment, ask questions about the interview process and make sure you note down things like addresses and names. If you're unsure about what to wear for the interview, there is no harm in asking about the dress code right away. On your own, research the company. I always recommend looking for company achievements and goals that are interesting and things they may be really proud of. Note these down and ask the hiring manager about them. It's a great way to build rapport. Next, go on to websites like Glassdoor and LinkedIn and research what people are saying about working at that company. These sites now can include descriptions of the interview process and sometimes even the interview questions themselves, so have a good look around. In addition, I like to research the people I'll be meeting with. Sometimes you can get a great feel for what their job is, what their position's priorities are, and what they've done before. Knowing these things can help you impress them and show that you've gone above and beyond in your preparation. Make sure you're matching your skills to the job. Just like you did when you created your resume, you want to practice describing how you have already displayed the key skills and accomplishments they're looking for. Practice the STAR model of answering interview questions. So here's an example. Let's say you're going for a warehouse supervisor's position and they want to know how you've problem solved in a stressful situation. The S in STAR stands for situation, where you're describing where you were and what you were doing. So for example, I'd say something like, in my last role as a warehouse supervisor, we faced a situation one day in which there was a backlog of work and we were short-staffed. The deadline was moved up and the team was frustrated. The T in the STAR model stands for task, in which you describe your responsibility. So again, I would say something like, as leader, it was my responsibility to make sure the team met its deadlines, communicate any obstacles to management, and keep the team motivated. The A is the action you took. I reprioritized the process, reassigned duties, got approval from management for the temporary measures, and set up feedback sessions to hear suggestions from my staff. And finally, the R in STAR is the result, which should always be the positive results of your actions. So in this scenario, the result of the temporary new process was that we met our deadline, and through our feedback session, we got several great ideas as to how to handle the situation seamlessly in the future. Next, you may wish to practice the telephone interview. Do you know what the number one mistake made in interviews is? Seeming disinterested. It's really important to come across enthusiastic and high energy while still sounding genuine. This can be a tricky balance, and I really recommend practicing this with a friend or family member. Choose someone who will give you honest feedback and helpful suggestions. And of course, mock interviewing is something that we here at Career Force do really well, so seriously, reach out to us. Typically, the first interview is over the phone. You'll be asked to expand on the qualifications you've included on your resume. Sometimes you'll be asked to take a skills test or behavioral assessment. If you're asked to take a skills test, make note of what you were asked to do and how you feel you did. If you're a little unsure of yourself, you might want to get some additional training. You can't really prep for a behavioral assessment as such. They are a method of matching jobs with people whose natural way of working and being fits the needs of the job. The second interview is typically where you meet the hiring manager. In addition to questions about your expertise, you'll be asked behavioral questions. Now, these are questions designed to see how your mind works, how you problem solve, and how you react in certain situations. They're the questions that typically start out with, "Tell me about a time," or "Describe to me." Use the STAR model when you can, and make sure that you strike the balance between giving them all the details that are important, but not taking so long to answer that they get bored. Unless they advise you not to, feel free to ask questions during the interview. Making sure that the company is a good match for you is just as important as making sure you're a good match for them. If you choose a company whose values and priorities align with yours, the chances are better that you'll want to stay. Sometimes you may encounter questions that are difficult to answer. Questions like, why did you leave your last job? Or tell me about your worst boss? Or everybody's favorite, what is your greatest weakness? The best general advice I can give is answer the questions directly and honestly so they don't feel like you're trying to hide something. But at the same time, don't share more information than needed. If an interview question touches on a sensitive topic, there can be the tendency to overshare just because we're nervous about it. Also, in the case of what is your greatest weakness, there may be the temptation to give an answer that's not really a weakness. The problem with saying, "I'm a perfectionist," is that that one has been used so often, it's become a cliche, and it can be viewed like you're just dodging the question. It's a best practice to choose a weakness that is a real weakness, but one that's not so bad that it sets up red flags. And then go on to describe how you've successfully set out to address that weakness. If you're asked to discuss a less than positive work experience, make sure that you communicate empathy or, at the very least, neutrality about the situation. For example, if I'm asked why I left my previous position, I could say something like, after working very successfully for 5 years as an XYZ supervisor, the company was restructured and a new manager was brought in who had a very different set of priorities and values compared to the previous manager. Understandably, she wanted to fill her team with people who were more closely aligned with her mindset. I can understand that. But I think the best thing was for me to seek out a new opportunity that closer fits my own values and priorities. Now, the reason I feel your organization is a natural fit for me is, and then I'm going to turn the focus onto my skill fit rather than why I left my last job. Answering difficult questions can be tricky, so I genuinely recommend talking to one of our staff privately for the best advice about handling your unique concerns. This has been a general overview of the job search process. There are multiple topics that you might be interested in exploring, such as career exploration, job search over 40, using social media, and salary negotiation. I encourage you to check out how we at CareerForce can connect with you individually or through training to assist you with job seeking preparedness. In addition, we can guide you towards additional services that address the needs of current and former military members, career seekers with disabilities, career seeking with a criminal record, retraining, and more. Once again, visit careerforcemn.com and click on Find a CareerForce location at the top of the screen. In addition, check out the For Career Seekers section that can assist you in starting, advancing, or changing your career, as well as providing you additional resources. Thank you so much for watching.